Hi guys, it's Lynn with Curiosity Crochet. I hope everyone is staying healthy. I hope you're all finding something to crochet and bide your time. Today I wanted to show you this bag that I came up with. This is just, it was an earring that I got off of clearance at Joann's that I just turned into a little decoration on here. And then I used a 1-inch button for the closure, and I made the handle. I braided the yarn. I used 3 strands and braided it, so it's not a real big handle. Now you can make any handle you want, or you can use an actual handle from like an old bag and sew that on. But the bag is worked in rounds, and then we connect the bottom to close it up. And the top is just 1 row of single crochet to close it off, because we start with a row of single crochet, so it kind of makes it nice and even. It finishes it off nicely. And I will show you everything that I did, other than, you know, attaching this, because you can decorate it however you want, or you don't have to decorate it at all. You don't even have to put a button on if you don't want to. I just did that so that it had a nice close. Now the size I made this is just a nice little handbag. I figured this would be nice for like the spring or summer. The colors that I have, that I used, was for, is a t-shirt yarn. And I'm actually, hold on, I'm going to show you what I had. Okay, now that I'm actually situated. So this is Lion Brand Fast Track. It is a 6-weight, if I could get that into focus. It's a 6-weight, and it recommends a 9, but I used an 8mm just to keep it nice and tight. This is a t-shirt like yarn, so it's flat, but it is a 6, believe me, and it works up pretty quickly too. For purposes of, you know, since I already made this and whatnot, I'm going to do it on a small scale with different yarn, smaller yarn. But you could actually make it with any yarn you want to. It doesn't have to be 6-weight. It doesn't have to be t-shirt yarn. It was just what I had. It was one of those things. I actually got this at Dollar Tree. Every once in a while, my Dollar Tree has yarn, and it's all $1 a piece. So I had grabbed a bunch of these in the pink and yellow, thinking, hey, someday I'll figure something out. And I was in my yarn closet, and I thought, I'm going to make a bag with that for spring or summer. And it reminds me of raspberry or strawberry lemonade. That is exactly what it reminds me of. So I just thought it was fun. But you can use any colors. You can use any yarn, whatever you want. Just know that if you use like a 4-weight or a 5-weight, it's going to take a little longer to work up because it's not as thick, obviously. And like I said, you can make it taller, you can make it wider, you can do it. The possibilities are endless with this bag because you can make it your own. Like, I'm going to show you the pattern. I'm going to show you how to close it up. And I'll show you how I made this. And I'll show you how I did the button closure. And you can kind of go and do your own thing with it. And like I said, once I give you the multiples for the stitch, you can make it as wide as you want to, because we're going to make a chain and connect it like if we were making a hat and you make a big ring. And you just fold it in half, and that's how wide your bag will be. And I'll explain that more in depth when we get to that part. So, but anyways, if you're going to use 6-weight, use an 8mm. If you're going to use any other kind of yarn, just use what's recommended. I just used an 8 to keep this nice and tight because it was a bigger yarn. So I didn't want it to have big holes in it. And that's the one thing I did like about this is, I don't know if you know or if you've ever made a bag before, but a lot of times when you make yarn bags, they have big holes in them. And then everything falls out of the holes. Now, this still has holes in it because it's crocheted, but it's got smaller holes, and it also is very sturdy. This is not a lightweight bag, but it's not super heavy where you can't carry it. but it is very heavy duty, and I think it would stand the test of time. And obviously, because it's a t-shirt, you can wash and dry it. So if it got dirty, you just throw it, you know, like if you have something like this on, you just take it off, wash it, put it back on. Especially if you have like a little dangly thing that's got a clip on it or something, you just clip it on and off however you want to. This one's attached, but yeah, I mean, let's get into it. You'll need whatever yarn you're using. You'll need whatever hook you're using. Scissors and a tapestry needle. And then you don't really have to have a tape measure this time, like when we make hats, but it might come in handy to know how tall or short you want your bag to be, or how wide you want it to be. You know, like maybe by inches you would rather measure it that way than just eyeballing it, but that's totally up to you guys. And then you'll need a button if you're going to put the button closure on it. And then for sewing the handles on, or sewing the button on, now for the button, I actually used cotton yarn. And the holes were big enough that I could use a bigger needle to sew it on. On the handles, I did the same thing. I used cotton yarn. I just used a yellow cotton yarn to sew it on. So you could really sew this stuff on however you want to, because a lot of times when I sew buttons onto stuff, I use embroidery floss, and I use like the thicker ones because I think it holds better than using thread. To me, it holds it tighter because you're sewing it onto yarn. So that's just something I do. I mean, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you do, it's what I want you to do. So I'm going to get all situated, and I'll meet you back, and we will get going on this. Okay, once you're all set and you've got everything put together, we are going to start with a slip knot. And we are going to make a foundation chain. Now, you want multiples of 4 in this foundation chain. So that just means 4 plus 4 plus 4, and whatever length you decide to get to. And like I was saying before, you can make this as wide or as narrow as you would like it to be. What you're going to do is you're going to make the chain. Well, and you want it multiples of 4, and then you're going to add 1 at the end. So it's going to be 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 to whatever you want it to be, and then you're going to add 1. But before you add that 1, you want to make sure you have it the width you want it to do. So what you're going to do is pretend this is the chain. You're going to make it the length you want it to be, and then you're going to fold it in half. And then this will be the width of your bag. After you fold it in half, that'll be how wide it is. So just make sure you make enough chains that it is, and then fold it in half, make sure it's the width you want it to be. If you're making it for somebody else, just, you know, kind of go off of how big their bags usually are or whatnot, and that's your best option to go with that. I am going to do it on a small scale to show you, just to work it up with you guys and show you how the stitch works, and then how we close up the bottom, and then I'll show you how I made the braided handle, and I'll show you how I added the thing in the back for the button. So let me make my chains, and then I'll meet you guys back. Okay, I just made 28 chains, which is a multiple of 4. And then we're going to add 1 more to the end of that. And then what we're going to do, once you have your multiples that you would like it to be, and then remember, just take this and fold it in half, and that'll be the width of your bag. Now, obviously, this could probably be a change purse or something, but yours will be a lot wider than mine. So then we're going to follow this down without twisting the chain. So I run my thumb down it to make sure it stays face up. And then we're going to insert our hook. Sorry, I lost my yarn tension there. We're going to insert our hook in the very first chain that we made. And we're going to slip stitch this and close it up. So see, that's where you get your width from. Now what we're going to do is for 2 rows, we're just going to put single crochet around. So we're going to chain 1, and I'm going to work in the back bumps of my chains. So if you're looking at it this way, this is the front of your chains. If you just turn it a little bit, you'll see that they have back bumps. And that's where I'm going to work, because it gives it a nice clean edge and it's easier to work into. Now, when you do it this way, this first one is sometimes hard to find because it's attached to the knot that you made. So if you look real careful, this bump here is your first back bump right here attached to that knot. So that's where you're going to put your first single crochet. You're going to go into that, and sometimes it's hard to get into, so you just have to be careful, and you're going to put your first single crochet in there. And then you're just going to work 1 single crochet in each of the chains around. Now you could, if you don't want to work in the back bump, you don't have to. You can work in the front of the chains. That's totally fine. I just like doing it this way because it gives it a nice clean edge where it looks like an actual stitch. So like, because we're putting it together at the end, it gives me an easier way to find the stitches to slip stitch it together. But like I said, it's totally up to you. If you're more comfortable doing it the other way, go right ahead. But so you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each chain. So go ahead and do this, and I'll meet you back at the end of this row, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I'm coming up around. Now, one thing I wanted to show you, when you're doing this, like it tends to twist on you, just kind of flip it this way, and then you'll be back on track, especially if you're using the back bump, because it wants to go in the direction it wants to go in, and unless you force it a little bit, it won't go. Now, if you're doing the back bump, don't miss this last one here. And see, if you turn it forward, you'll see where your last chain is here. And because we slip stitch, this is kind of pushing down underneath, but it's under here. I want to show you this because sometimes it can pull and you won't see it, but it's down in here. So you just want to get up underneath that and get that last one. Now, if you're not sure, you can always count your stitches and make sure. See, and then once you're done, then flip it back so that it's facing the right way. But you can always count your stitches to make sure you've got the right amount. So it'll be your multiple of 4 plus 1. So we'll count this and make sure I got it right. Let's do that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. $29, because I did 28 and then my plus 1, so we have 29. Now we're going to slip stitch to our first single crochet. Okay? Now, you can flip it this way and turn it so that if you look, there's usually a right side and a wrong side to a single crochet or whatnot. So it's totally up to you. But I'm going to keep it this way. And I didn't crochet my end in, so it's going to sit there. But, so now for this second row, we're going to chain 1, and we are going to do the same thing. We are going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch around, starting right where we slip stitched. So we're going to go right back in there and do a single crochet, and then 1 single crochet in every stitch around. Now, this has, it's really a 2-row repeat. It's just that the 1 row changes from the one time to the next. And I'll show you what I mean as we get going here. But you won't have to do 2 rows of single crochet ever. It's going to be 1 row of single crochet in between the main rows of the stitch. And it'll make sense as we go along here. So just put one single in each stitch until we get back to the beginning. I'll meet you back when I come back around. Okay, I'm coming back around here. I've got a couple stitches left. Now you'll always have the same amount of stitches that you started with. They won't change. So whatever chain you started with is how many stitches you'll have. So once you get back around, and don't forget this last one, you can usually tell where your last stitch is because you can see the stitch here. And then you've got your fake stitch, which is where you've slip stitched. So don't work into that because you'll add stitches. Just work into that last stitch here. And then slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet. Now, this is where the main part starts. And what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2, which doesn't count as anything. And we are going to put, let me check my notes real quick so I don't tell you the wrong thing. We are going to put 4 double crochets in a row. So going back into where we slip stitched, there's your first one. Jump to the next, second double crochet. Third, and fourth. So you're going to put 4 in a row. Now what we're going to do is we're going to jump down back to that first row that we did. We are going to skip over those 4 that we worked in up here. So we're going to skip 1, 2, 3, 4. And now around that 5th one down here, we're going to work around it. And we're going to make a small puff. So you're going to yarn over and you're going to go in. And now working around single crochets is a little harder, but just do the best you can because you're not going to have to do this again. This is just the setup for the stitch. So you're going to go in and you're going to pull up a loop. Now pull it up nice and tall so that it's not pulling on the material. And then you're going to yarn over and you're going to go in there one more time. And you're going to pull up another loop. Well, if I could, I'm stuck on. There we go. And pull that up nice and tall too. Now yarn over and you're going to pull through those first 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to pull through those first 4. And then you're going to yarn over and pull through the last 2. And that's going to give your little bubble-like effect. And make sure you skip one back here before you move on because you just worked that one. And we're going to put 3 in a row now. So we're going to, remember, skip 1 in the back there and you're going to put 3 in a row. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to do the same. We're going to jump down. We're going to skip 3. 1, 2, 3. And around that 4th, we're going to do that small puff again. So we're going to go in and pull up a loop, nice and tall. Yarn over, go in there again, pull up another loop. Now we're going to pull through these first 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to pull through those, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through the last 2. We're going to skip 1 behind here, and we're going to put 3 double crochets in a row. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do our small puff again. So we're going to skip 3 down below. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to work around that 4th one. Down in the very first row. Pull up a loop. Yarn over. Pull up a second time. Pull through the first 4, pull through the last 2. And that's what you're going to repeat for this row. Make sure you skip that one behind and put 3 in a row again. And that's what you're going to repeat. You're going to put 3 double crochets in the middle, do your small puff stitch around single crochet in the first row, and then just keep repeating that till you come to the end. And I'll meet you back at the very end here and show you how we're going to finish this row up. Okay, when you come back around, you'll be left, after you skip that one, you'll be left with 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that you're going to put your 4 double crochets in just like the beginning of the row. So you're going to start with 4, you're going to end with 4 on this row. And the other row is identical except for how you start and end. And I'll show you that when we get there. Now, the other thing I want to show you is the way this stitch works, because we're working in the round, is you're going to have this big gap where it's just a bunch of double crochets, but I don't want you to worry about it because when we fold it to attach it, that's going to be the side of your bag. So there's just going to be a gap, you know, here and then on this side. So you won't even have to worry about that. Like if we were making, I would never make a hat like this, but because we're folding this and we're attaching the bottom this way, it won't make one bit of difference because it'll be one side and the other side. I just wanted you to know that so you didn't get panicked. But now what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch in the top of that first double crochet. Now we're going to repeat that. Now this is where we're going to do the single crochet row. So you're going to chain 1 and then you're just going to go around and put 1 single crochet in each stitch. Now this is where I changed colors. That's how I got those 2 colors in there. I did the single crochet row in one color and I did the small, you know, the small puff row in the other color. So it's up to you if you want to switch colors or you want to do it all in one color. It is totally up to you. But I did the bottom part, the first 2 rows of single crochet. I did that in the same color as I did the single crochet rows. And then once I got to this row, I changed it. I should have said that to you guys before. I'm sorry. But it's, you know, if you want to do it all in one color, that works too. And you could make multiple bags if you want to. These are fun. So yeah, so for this row, you're just going to do 1 single in every stitch all the way around. And then there's only a slight change in the next row. And it is the easiest of differences. And you'll just alternate that. You'll do this row that we just did, row a single, and then the next row and a single. And once you get to the top, just make sure however tall you want it to be, you end on a single crochet row. Because that'll make it easier. It'll make it cleaner at the top too. So once you come back around, don't forget that last stitch. And then you're going to slip stitch in the top of that first single. Now here's where it changes. We're going to chain our 2. It's always chain 1 for the single crochet row, chain 2 for the double crochet row. And now what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over and we're going to do 2 double crochets in a row. We're doing it this way so that these are staggering. So this time it'll be here and then this one and then over in the middle. So that's why it staggers. So 1 row, you're going to start and end with 4. You're going to do a single crochet row. Then you're going to start and end with 2. And then a single crochet row. So that's the only difference. And now, like I said, you wouldn't have to do any more around the single crochets because you're not. So now, don't worry about your chain. You want to skip 2 and then basically in the middle here. Because like, pretend like it was just the 3 like we did in the middle. You're always going to work in the middle one. But we start with 4 on this other row. So you're going to skip the 2 that you started with. And you're going to yarn over and you're going to go around this double crochet. And you're going to pull up a loop. Yarn over, go in there and pull up another loop. Pull through those first 4, pull through the 2. And then remember, you're going to skip the one that you just worked into, and then you're going to do 3 in a row. And I think I'm off a little bit on mine, but you should be fine. But you're going to put 3 in a row then, just like that other row. 1, 2, 3. And then you're going to put your small puff stitch around the middle one in the next bunch of 3. So you're going to yarn over, you're going to pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 4, pull through 2. And then that's what you're going to repeat. And for some reason, I think I did it on the first row down here. I think I went over 1 too many when I was doing my puffs. So make sure you don't make the mistake I made, because then it's going to pull these over a bit. You want them to be smack dab in the middle. So like we should be skipping this one, but for some reason I'm skipping one way over here. So it had to have happened in this row here when I started. I think I started over 1 too many and then it threw the whole thing off. So don't do what I did. Make sure you're in the right stitches. So I'm actually just going to finish it the way that I have it, because I don't want to make you guys, I don't want to screw you guys up. So, ooh, I'm snagging my yarn. So it's the same exact thing on each row, except for one row you're going to start and end with 4. One row you're going to start and end with 2. And you're going to put a row of single crochet in between those rows. I'm trying to get around here quickly so I can show you at the end here. I caught up somehow. Oops, now I dropped it. And there is dog hair literally everywhere. I don't know if you guys have pets, but mine, I feel like they shed all year long. Their hair is everywhere all the time. We could literally vacuum every day and the vacuum would still be all filled up with hair. Now, I probably threw this off too because I was working it like it should be, and I probably threw myself off by a stitch. But when you come back around to the end here, you should finish up with 2 double crochets. Just like you finished up with... Now, see, when you come down... Oh, I did... Okay, it did end up okay. So when you come here, you'll have these 4 again. So you just want to work in the middle of this one. You can pick one of these 2 to work into. I tend to skip 2 and then work into the 3rd, but either way, it's fine. So you're going to work into that last one, and then you're going to put your you're going to skip that last skip and then put your last 2 in here. And then you're going to slip stitch to the top. That's what I did. I didn't put the second one in. Well, it caught up and it worked out. But you start with 2 and end with 2. And then you're going to do your single crochet row. See, none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. So you're going to do a row of single crochet now, and then you're going to go to the start with and end with 4 row. Then you're going to do single crochet and you're going to start and end with 2. And then you're just going to keep repeating that until you get to the height that you want your bag to be. Now mine is about 7 inches high. the height is 7 inches. My width is 10 and a half inches wide. So that's just what mine is. You can do yours however you want. So if you want to take it taller and wider and make it a bigger bag, great. I want you to make it however you want to, but I do think this is a pretty pattern for a bag. I think this is very pretty. But go ahead and work up your bag. We'll meet back and I will show you guys how we're going to close this up. Okay? Meet you back. Okay, once you get your height done that you want it to be, remember, finish off on a single crochet row. And then we are simply going to tie off at this point, because now we're going to close up the bottom, and then we'll add the button loop. Sorry, my sleeves are, I have a sweatshirt on because I'm freezing. Here in Illinois, it is cold. But anyways, what we're going to do is, remember, you're going to fold it in half along the seam of where you worked from. So wherever you tied off, fold it in half that way. But we're going to flip it inside out to do this. So make sure you keep track of which is the top and the bottom. And then just fold it at that seam. And this is how we're going to put it together. You grab your yarn, and I'm going to make a little slip knot. And we're going to start at one corner down here. We're going to just go in. You want to go under. I usually start, like, because when you fold it, it makes a little corner, and I go into that corner there. That's where I like to start it, and I end the other side like that. I just think it closes it better. But so that's where I'm starting it. And then we're going to go into each stitch on each side, and we are going to slip stitch it. And we are going to go all the way along the bottom like that to close it up. So you're going to go into the stitch on this side, and then the stitch on this side. And then you're going to slip stitch that together. And you're just going to do that all along the bottom there. And now, because some of these we did that small puff around, it might be a little hard to get in there, but just do your best. Opposite side, because I keep blocking the light with my left hand, and I'm noticing that now. It's a learning curve, you guys. It's a learning curve, and I'm getting there slowly but surely. But we are just going to slip stitch it all the way down till we get to the other side. I really like this yarn. This is that Caron times Pantone, and the yarn itself is really nice. Like, I'd love to make something with it, but if you've watched any of my other videos, I've mentioned it comes in like small bunches. Like, you get like 5 small bunches that you'd have to keep changing yarn. You know, like this is all that it has made. So if I was making something bigger, I would have to be changing yarn every 5 minutes. And that's not the most fun thing to do. I don't know if you guys are with me on that. But once you come down to the end, and like I said, I always go through the corner to finish it off, then you're just going to tie off. And then, of course, you're going to have to go and sew in all your ends and whatnot. But then you're going to flip it, and you'll have this pretty little bottom to it because we slip stitched it inside out. So it works out real nice. I like it like that. And then, depending on how wide or short you made yours, what you want to do for the button loop is you want to try and get it right smack dab in the middle. So if you're looking at both sides, like your button is probably best put here, because if you look at the other side, this one's in the middle here. So you want to put your button like right here in the middle, and I suggest you sew the button on first, and then you can kind of come back here and look, and you can see that where the stitches are that you probably want to work into, because we're only going to use 2 stitches to do this. We're gonna go in one, we're gonna chain some, and then we're gonna come into the next one and slip stitch it so that it's not like right on top of each other. So I'm gonna put a slip knot on my hook, and looking at this, I would say that I would want it here. And if I could grab my yarn, it would be amazing. We're gonna pull this through and slip stitch it so that it's on there good. And then I chained about 10 because I didn't want it to be a loose button strap. I wanted it to be kind of tight so that it's not all over the place. And then they do stretch out. It's yarn, so they stretch out. You want it to start a little tight so that it has room to stretch out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like this one's real small, so I'm just gonna do 5. And this one I could probably use for like my credit cards or something. But and you could use a bigger button than I use too. You could use a bigger button, a smaller button, however you want. Just make sure that you chain as many as you need for it to go around the button. That's why I say it's better to sew on the button first, and then you can come around that button and make sure it's going to be a snug fit. And then once you get what you want, then you just come down to the next stitch and slip stitch that on. And then you can tie off at that point too. And then you've got your little button loop. And then you can just, and I made this small because if I decide to put a button on here and I decide to keep this, I'll probably put a tiny little button on there. But I don't know that I'll even keep that, to be honest. But I want to show you real quick how I made the handle. Now that's all done. So all you'll need to do at this point is attach a handle. Like I said, you can do whatever you'd like with a handle. You can make it however you want it. You can attach one that's from an old bag, like an old leather one or a chain one or whatever you'd like. I have some old purse straps too, but none of them matched this good, so I just made one and it just was easier. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna get 3 strands, and depending on if you made yours 2 colors like I made the other one, I suggest taking 2 strands of the one color and 1 strand of the other, because that's how I made mine work. And then what you want to do is take those 3 strands and you put a little knot at the one end, and you want to leave it where there's a little bit hanging, because that's how I did this. I left a little bit of danglies on both sides. So you do that, and now it's kind of hard to do right here on the table, but I took a sewing needle and I stuck it through the knot and I stuck it onto my floor so that it was nice and secure. But I'm going to try and hold this with I used to do hair, so braiding is second nature to me, and I know some people don't know how to braid, but I can try to show this to you one-handed. So I'm going to hold this, and then what you do is you take one side and you cross it over the middle. Now you have a new middle. You take this side and you cross it over the new middle. You're always crossing over the middle, but you just go back and forth. So now you're going to come back to the right side. And then you're going to always cross that middle. But you want to make, mine's not going to be tight. You want to make it tight. So you go to the right, and then you go to the left. And you'll always create a new middle. So you're always working over the middle. You take from the right, you got a new middle. Take from the left, you got a new middle. And you just do that all the way down. And then pretend like I have this done and it's not as loose as it is. Yours will be nice and tight like this is. It'll be nice and tight. But then at the end, you're going to do the same thing. When you get down to the end, you want to leave a little bit. And you're going to make another knot to close that braid off. And you want to leave some danglies. And then what I did was I matched up the knots. And then I trimmed it so that they were even. That's all I did. I trimmed them so that they were even. And then I sewed each end on to the sides. And that is all I did with that. So that now you guys should have yourselves a bag. And then, like I said, I attached this little dangly, and it was an earring. I got them right after Valentine's Day. They had all their, you know, like Hardy Cutie things on clearance. So these were earrings. I got them for like $1. So I figured, well, that would come in handy for like a little dangly thing on a bag or something. So I snatched that up and I attached that. Now, these have it's pretty much the same thing on both sides, so it doesn't matter. But some earrings you have to watch because one side's one way, one side's another. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys were able to make a bag along with me. If you haven't already, I ask you to please subscribe. The button's right below the video on the right. You do have to be signed into Google though. That's how you sign into YouTube. And there's a little bell right next to the subscribe button that will notify you when I upload new videos. So then you can always see what's going on in the world of Lynn. I like to update, you know, outside of crochet too, because I'm just a talker like that. If you like the video and you like this bag, give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that too. And like I said, I hope you guys are all staying healthy. I hope you're all doing well. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.